Hello friends, and I am back for more health related content. I won't lie, I do have a lot of reservations sharing about this particular condition, but I've decided to, just be brave and just kind of share out really for myself to just feel relief just telling others of the situation. And also part of me wants to make a video about this because I know that I wasn't able to find a lot of information on certain aspects of this issue, and maybe by watching my video, a person in the same similar health journey might find comfort or possibly learn something from this, and have a positive change with you if you are suffering of the same condition. If you haven't watched a video that I've made very early on that kind of explains my health journey this year, I'll just quickly recap. About a year and a half ago, I was experiencing crazy pelvic pains and just really heavy menstrual bleeding. And, at first I didn't really put it in my mind that I actually had an issue, because at the time I was really going through a lot. I was going through a lot of dealing with grief from passing of my grandmother, getting a new job, moving, and all the things that I could have had a reason to be stressed about. I thought that those were the reasons, and I didn't really get too concerned about my current condition because I've always had those sort of women problems like pelvic pains from before, and I always just worked through it. But this time I kind of felt like I hit pretty rock bottom, mainly because one day I just felt so terrible after not feeling well for 5 or 6 months straight. Went to get a blood test and was told that I needed a blood transfusion the same day. And because of getting that blood transfusion, it kind of spurred into this series of different types of health tests and exams from different doctors. I probably saw 5 to 6 different doctors in different fields to kind of figure out what was wrong with me. And in one aspect, they kind of found out that I had thyroid cancer, and that was a surprise. And I had that surgery in March, about just a little over 2 to 3 months now, and that was actually asymptomatic type condition. My original issue of having pelvic pain and all of that was not resolved at that time, because obviously cancer was the priority and it was the first thing that I needed to take care of. After the cancer surgery, I waited for about a month or 2 to actually feel like I am ready to go under another surgery, which would be probably 3 times as intense and more invasive. I feel confident at the moment of my decision, and I just want to kind of share what's happened since March and how I arrived to today. The first thing was that I could not really control my period. I thought that the reason for that is of all the things that I was dealing with a year ago, dealing with grief, the passing of my grandmother, moving to a new place, getting a new job, and all the various stressors in my life. I thought those were the reason. And looking back at it, I mean, they all could have been the reason, and would have been like, that I didn't watch it for my health, and I was not in the best mental state, and that could have, really, weakened my immune system. So anyways, in the past, I've had scans on my stomach before, and there was a cyst that somebody found that wasn't diagnosed, meaning that I wasn't called attention to it. I didn't know it was important, and luckily, I started going to Weill Cornell with more expert doctors and machinery, and they were able to tell me that a cyst that I have is a rare congenital situation that 1 out of 40,000 people have. It is basically some type of leftover cell growth from gestational period. So like, meaning when I was growing in the stomach, my mom, I've had that, and I guess throughout, growing to adulthood, it kind of just grew along with it. But within the last probably 2 or 3 years, it's been growing about 2 centimeters each year. So currently I have like a cyst that's like 10 centimeters big, kind of like pretty big. And of course that can't be in my body and has to be removed to prevent it from possibly exploding or getting bigger and bigger and causing issues. So I don't really think I have a choice of not removing it. And also there's like a great percentage chance that it can become malignant. So I really need to have that done. Another thing is, I've always had heavy menstrual periods. I've always had crazy pelvic pains. And in the past, I've always taken birth control for the last like 15, 16 years. And that's really kept those symptoms down. I wasn't really diagnosed with my actual condition, which is called adenomyosis, until about 5 years ago. And adenomyosis is like an evil cousin of endometriosis, where endometriosis is when the cells are growing all over your uterus and like fibers are growing all over, which, in a procedure, you could have that scraped or taken out. As opposed to people with adenomyosis, the uterine cells are actually growing inside my muscles, which means you cannot cut that out, because that's saying that you're gonna cut your muscles. So ways that doctors have used to kind of optimize is to give you progesterone or hormone medication in any form, like pills, Mirena IUD, and there are options such as like something called UAB, uterine artery embolization, or different kind of non-invasive surgical procedures to kind of remove the cell or to improve the condition of your uterus. So either like to make that less or to reduce the inflammation that it causes. So like inflammation meaning that uterus is really, really big and, like have like pelvic pain from the pressure. So I want to touch upon like the pain aspect of it. I guess this time or this year, the pain wasn't normal, meaning that it was excruciating. It feels as if my stomach is like 3 to 6 months pregnant. It's extremely bloated and it can happen within any second, meaning like I could eat something that doesn't agree with me, and then like uterus would feel like it's extremely inflamed. And this is because I decided to stop taking my hormone medications, because I was thinking that how would it work if I wanted to have children if I can't take hormone medications? And the fact of the matter is that I need hormone medications more than the ability to have children. Essentially, I have to trick my body, because without the extra hormones to control the cells in my stomach, it basically is freaking out and just inflamed and then crushing on my other organs, and I would get like extreme back pain. And because of this, I know this is very embarrassing to say, but like for a few months of last year, I really couldn't go out. Like I felt very isolated in my house. I felt very, very paranoid and nervous about leaving the house because I could have stomach pains at any moment. I would say the pain is almost like 20 days out of 30 when I'm lucky. And usually when the pain comes, all I can do is take pain medication, like over-the-counter Aleve, Tylenol, you name it, I've taken it. I know every trick in the book, what people tell you should do, use a heating pad, take a shower, do this, do that. I've done every single thing possible. And the pelvic pain is disruptive enough that sometimes I'm not able to like sit upright on a chair. I have to like lay down and I just have to wait it out. And sometimes it would take 2 hours. So it really, throughout the 20 days, during work hours, sometimes, I just have a 2-hour span of time that I need like a break, and then I can get back to my normal life. And that isn't even counting about the heavy menstrual bleeding. Like it would be unstoppable. I would need to have like, just lots of backup situations. I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving the house or going out or even telling other people that this is happening. And honestly, for a whole year, I don't know if I can actually remember what it's like to not have a single day where my stomach didn't feel terrible. Like I probably have 7 days where I did not, and even then, like it was just so long that I don't know if I remember what it's like to like actually feel great. I've always had this on my mind, something that I need to like make sure of. And so I think in March, when my doctor has tried giving me some options and also gave me the option of having a hysterectomy, which is a complete removal of your uterus, which means that I would not be able to carry children, it was devastating news. Obviously, having this condition for most of my life, I actually didn't have a lot of hopes, or I didn't really dream of being able to carry my own child, or even having a child was not really in my mind, because imagine that I've had 15 plus years of knowing something like this, and I'm just kind of accepted that having a child is a miracle, and I've conditioned to not expect that. That's where I'm at. And I know those of you who's, my friends who've, had children, and it's like a club. When you have a child, you can share all these things and everything. Like to be honest, I always questioned myself. Am I a weird person for not feeling like I'm missed out? I've also are not against children, but I just didn't know why I never felt the urge or felt this intense feeling of like I need to have children. I guess it's part of my mind that I just knew that it was going to be a journey in itself. So I didn't expect much. But one day when I went to my surgeon and she was telling me that she does not feel like my fertility ability to keep my fertility is very high because of the imaging from an MRI. So I'm gonna put pictures here and talk about this. On Google, I found a picture of a normal uterus, and in a normal uterus, you have a line in between with a U-shaped muscle. But when you see my picture, it's like a giant balloon. There is no such shape of even a uterus because it's all the cells of adenomyosis are in it, and it is very inflamed, and that is the physical size of my uterus. Behind it is the cyst I just talked about, and they're together. They're not supposed to be there. And right now they're so big that it is crushing on my other organs, and it's growing at an alarming rate. So it doesn't seem like I have a choice, but at the time when my surgeon told me that she thinks that I should have a hysterectomy or I should consider one, and told me all of the news, honestly, I came back and I cried my eyes out. At first, I felt like an extreme failure. I just had a pit in my stomach. I didn't know what to say. I don't have children, and the grief of that took a while to get over. Like, I don't know if I'm even over it yet, but I feel okay about it now. I was told in March, today's June. So, I've had 2.5 months to think about this. One of the things that actually made me feel a lot better was after sharing this news with my cousin, and she's a lawyer, so she's very good at debating different phrases and thoughts. She told me that, what's the definition of being a mom? The definition of being a mom does not mean that you have to carry the child. Carrying the child, it would be a 9-month situation, and the raising of the child is an 18-year plus whole life decision. So in her mind, a mother's care and love does not require you to have and to carry a child of your own. When I kind of hear the redefinition of what it takes to be a mom, it actually made me feel a lot better. I think that it's society's rules to dictate that children has to come from your own womb to be called your own child, but it doesn't have to be that way. And other thing is, let's say that I adopt a child or I have a surrogate from someone else, or even the egg's not mine and I refuse to do IVF. Is someone going to question me that this child is not mine if I present it to the world? I don't think so. That's what she said. She said, is someone going to come to you and say, Kat, where did that kid come from? Well, you can say it's a surrogate, but are they going to question that you're not its mother when you are saying that they are? No, you will not. As long as I present the child as mine, I'm its mother and I'm the caregiver. And she asked me about genetic material and said, have you ever considered not even using your own genetics? Do they have to look like you? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think that's a want, not a need. It's not like I'm blessed with some genius level of knowledge, or I'm blessed with like great looks. No, I'm not. And why do I have to have my genes live on? If I use somebody else's eggs, would I love the child less? It took me some time to think about all these questions that she raised and just to challenge the traditional thoughts of what it takes to be a mom for somebody. And I will tell you that all these questions really made me feel a lot better. A lot. Meaning that it gave me the courage to choose to undergo the hysterectomy and also the cyst removal without looking back. For like a while, I had a really hard time understanding what my mom and some few people have told me, which is in these types of decisions, you have to choose yourself first, not anything else. And I couldn't let that go. I couldn't say I would choose myself first. And what does that mean? It means you have to do whatever it takes for your current health. And at the time, I couldn't let it go. I was balancing the opportunities or loss of opportunity for carrying a child versus my own health. And I couldn't come to a decision because I always put that first. But in actuality, there's no way I would be able to have a child if I'm not well. In general, anytime. Like, I wouldn't be able to take care of the child. If I'm not here, how can I even have one? That really made me understand the importance of my own health, that I needed to make the decision and stand by it. The decision wasn't made lightly. I spoke to other doctors with ulterior type operation, meaning that if I didn't do hysterectomy, what would happen? There is this one other procedure that they suggested called UAB, uterine artery embolization. This is where they are able to stop blood flow into certain parts of your body and essentially shrink an organ. They're using that as an option for like liver cancer. So they can do that on a uterus. They can shrink the uterus. However, when I got the consultation with this doctor, he told me that the success rate of this procedure for me would be only about 70%. And the pain level would be excruciating. I would need to be in the hospital for 3 nights on an epidural. As the uterus shrinks or expands, he's also afraid of the risk it's going to be on the cyst that I have behind it. If it explodes, then I would be in extreme pain. So after hearing a lot of this news, after thinking about it, I just made a decision that I don't want to undergo 2 separate pelvic surgeries, meaning just keep postponing it till a later time, and I'm still not going to feel well. I've decided that I would have both procedures done at the same time, so I would just be going under once. And hopefully after that, I only have to deal with one recovery time rather than having multiple rounds throughout the whole year. I want everyone to know that I've been thinking a lot after my first surgery of the things that I did in the previous surgery that gave me so much anxiety, and I'm just so fearful. And then I'm thinking about all of the positive outcomes that I had from the previous surgery, all the notes and all of the positive energy that everyone's given me. After having such a great outcome on the cancer surgery, I'm still riding really, really high on positivity. And I've thought again on what I'm gonna be like this time, how I'm gonna be different. And I've decided that I've changed my attitude towards this particular surgery, and I'm going to be different. And that's number one, I'm not going to be afraid of what's to come. I already know what it's like to be put under, so I am not going to be new to it. I'm not going to be afraid of what they're going to say. And I just hope to have a successful surgery and be on the road to feeling better. And I don't want to be overthinking this decision, and part of me wants support and empathy towards my decision, as it was not something that was very easy to make, but I am now choosing to put my health first, and whether or not I'm able to have a child through surrogate, that will be like my journey after this. So to talk quickly about what's to come on June 27th, which is in about 2 weeks, my surgery is gonna be about 6 hours long, 6 hours or less. The first 3 hours will be a total hysterectomy, which means that everything will be removed minus my ovaries. So because I'm still a young person, they're not going to remove ovaries, otherwise my hormones will be out of whack. So that means I'm still able to do IVF down the road if I'm going to extract eggs, if I choose to. But everything will be removed. And the thing about that is I've decided to be less fearful of that, since that is the pretty common surgery that happens in the United States, probably the second most common after a C-section. They're going to do this robotically, which means that they're going to have 5 incisions on my stomach to remove everything. Right after that gets removed, a colorectal surgeon will be going in with the same machinery to take a look at how to remove my cyst. Currently, I've been told that the cyst is attached to my intestines, and depending on the severity of that, the best case scenario is that they're able to remove it without an issue. If the attachment is extremely in a big portion of my intestine, it is possible they would have to disconnect and reconnect my intestine to my stomach. Yes, it sounds really, really scary, but I won't know anyway if they're going to do that, which could lead to having me staying overnight in the hospital, or even having like a hole in my stomach to drain out any possible issues from that. So we don't know how that's gonna end up, but hopefully that is something I have to sign, and they told me that they're going to do something like that. I trust in the surgeons. My surgeon is a colon cancer surgeon, so he should be very experienced in this area of the body with 20 years of experience. So all I can do is have faith in my surgeons and doctors that will take care of me. In terms of the recovery, I will be taking like a month off from work. It's about 6 weeks to feel okay. About, probably 6 months to up to a year to feel really, really great. I know for like 2 months I wouldn't be able to do any like physical activity. Just regular walking, like mild walking is what I'm allowed to. I'm not allowed to do any kind of like running, pool, gym. And I've watched a lot of hysterectomy videos online, and a lot of ladies said that the physical scars are not too bad. It's really just stitches on the inside, and you can't see that, so you have to take it really easy. And really depends on how complex this situation is going to be, and they're gonna decide if they even need to give me like a C-section surgery as well, which is a lot more invasive, because the less your stomach is open, the better. And because it is rather a big scar, it would affect how long I will be able to get back to it. So really at this point, I'm just really hoping that I can get through this next huge challenge and, just be on my way to feeling better after. And I don't want to dwell so much time, just thinking about why I'm doing it or my decision on it. I'm pretty sure at this point I don't want multiple pelvic surgeries, and I don't want to wait more and longer for things to be different or avoid it. I'm just gonna go head on and deal with it full speed ahead. Thank you so much for listening to this really long video. Because of this bigger surgery, I have to do, bowel prep and all that. So I'll make a separate video when that day comes. I have to do a bunch of little different things this time. Anyways, thank you for listening.